technology to power your strategy.
We're back again, and as I said last week, I kind of set the stage. We are certain that we are going to have technical difficulties, and we just experienced one. Apparently, our broadcast just dropped. We'll investigate afterwards and find out what happened. But we're back with the show, and we're going to take it back from the top and get on with it. So, again, my name is Jim Young, CEO and co-founder of Realcomm, and what I'd like to do is, introduce Realcomm Live, second episode. Last week was our first, and it's a 19-year journey for us trying to get a broadcast like this out. And finally, the technology and the market caught up to the point where it was practical. So we've got some great guests today where we're going to be talking about reoccupancy, one on the commercial side, the landlord, and the other on the occupier. And what I'd like to do is bring in my first guest, Jim Whalen, SVP, CIO, and CTO for Boston Properties. And while Jim and I are chatting, we're going to show a little video of New York just to give you an idea on why we're doing this. So, Jim, great to see you. How are you?
Good to
for
see
the
you,
second
Jim.
time.
Yeah.
So everything going well in Boston? It looks like you're in your office.
Yeah, I'm in my office. I've been here. I've been actually coming in the office since early June. This is the first week I'm here all 5 days, so it's a new record for me. But yeah, just been it's the turn to the fall. This so the cold weather's coming up our way. I know you're in Southern California, but it's definitely feeling like fall here.
Cool. Well, the numbers I'm hearing out of New York, we're sub 10%. I'm hearing 10, 11. But the bottom line is, the market is still nowhere near back, right? And it's everybody's goal and objective to actually, get people back into offices, because I've never seen New York like this. I've never seen, that particular city with empty streets. It was one of the, if not the most vibrant city in the world. And we're not just talking about empty buildings here. We're talking about a significant contributor to U.S. and global GDP. And yes, we figured out how to work from home, but there's still something to be said for people coming together. So why don't you give us a little idea on what Boston Properties is doing right now from a technology standpoint to get that confidence level up so people come back into the office?
Yeah, no, Jim. Yeah, we were kind of an early, we were early in the cycle. Last March, we stood up a health security task force. It was just a collaborative effort with a lot of disciplines in the company. Published a plan to our customers on May 1st, and then really rushed to implement a series of measures and protocols. And you think about us, we're a multi-tenant office owner, so we control common areas, common services. You have to traverse through those services, in areas, and then once you're in your space, your employee workplace programs take over. So, the ability to do protocols and signage, air and water quality, which again, are almost like utilities that service the building. Touchless where appropriate. We even put in thermal cameras at many of our larger buildings in Boston and New York in conjunction with our customers. So again, it's this series of these measures that have created, I know because I experience it every day when I come here, a level of trust and comfort. And I do think what we've seen is, we had a peak in Boston and New York in late July and August. Again, those markets were opening up, with a phase 2 and phase 3, and we've seen an uptick after Labor Day here, after flattening, and obviously a vacation month in August. But it is, as you say, very critical that we as a landlord are creating an environment that again has a series of protocols and measures that create a safe environment for our customers and occupants and visitors.
So obviously pulling everybody out of their workplaces for 6, 9, however many months it's going to be, what are the long-term implications? I mean, 2021, 2022, is your capacity to use technology to innovate going to be hindered, or is it going to be neutral, or are you going to be moving forward at a good clip?
Yeah, I don't, I look at our, the strength of our platform, and I don't think innovation stops when you're challenged. I've never looked at it that way, Jim. And when you're challenged economically, you double down on investing in certain aspects of your platform to strengthen it for competitive advantage. And I think a lot of the themes that we saw prior to COVID, whether it be data, whether it be occupant tenant experience, whether it be ESG, whether it be cyber, all those things are remain only in some of them in an accelerated manner, right? Accelerated emphasis. So personally, I know from our platform, we're going to continue to innovate and invest in technology.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to bring Annette in right now, and then I'm going to bring you back so the three of us can round out the conversation. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in a minute.
Great.
All right. Our next guest is EVP of Technology Innovation from Brookfield. Brookfield, one of the largest organizations in the commercial real estate industry in the world. Owners, operators, managers, developers. Annette, so great to see you. It's been too long. Just good to see your face and good to talk to you today. How are you?
I'm doing well, Jim. It's nice to see you as well. Maybe one day we'll get to see each other again in person.
Absolutely. So obviously one of the largest real estate organizations on the planet Earth, a billion moving pieces. Can you just give us a quick highlight on what you're doing to make your facilities? We'll start with office, and then I'm going to pivot to the retail conversation. But what are you doing? What are you seeing in the offices to get people feeling comfortable with coming back?
Yeah, I want to say that, a lot of the things that Jim mentioned that are happening at Boston Properties, I think a lot of this, real estate office landlord owners are looking for the same things. We were really prepared to bring back what we thought were going to be a lot of people this summer once some of the restrictions started to ease and some of the numbers came down. And so there was a lot of protocols put in place to make people feel safe. That included, a lot of different cleaning protocols. We've looked at a lot of technology to improve cleanliness, to help people feel, safe, and making sure that people who were coming into the building were healthy. But as you mentioned, everybody has not rushed back to the office. So we're looking at, what is the long-term gain here? What do we need to do in the office space? And I think what we're realizing is, people are going to want to come back and make sure their buildings are healthy. And that takes on it means slightly different things when you think about it just post-COVID, but just I think people are more aware of hygiene right now. And we're going to need to think about how do we become more transparent to all of the users of our buildings about what healthy means. And how do we do that, whether that's about implementing technology that has sensors on indoor air quality or things about cleanliness, but it's, how do you take some of those very technical things that are out there and present them in a way to the users of our buildings every day so they feel good about coming back to work and feeling safe about the protocols that we have put in place that are protecting them and all of their peers.
And then how about retail? Obviously, retail was already in the digital transformation mode, going back 10 years. Amazon, online buying, wanting to see experiences. Tell us about what the malls and retail looks like even after COVID, once we get through the virus. Feels like it's accelerated the transformation.
It has accelerated so many things within the retail space. I mean, I think, every week there has been a lot of shakeout in terms of the retail space. And I think what you're seeing is there is a segmentation now between the winners that are able to really transform their business to meet the demands of consumers. And obviously people are moving to e-commerce channels, but the way that they're consuming goods, either through home delivery from the stores or buy online, pick up in stores, all of those trends have accelerated dramatically. I mean, what's interesting on the retail side is, the foot traffic that we have at most of our shopping malls, and, I want to say more than 90% of our shopping malls are now open. It's just, based on local restrictions where they are not. But the footfall has come back much more than it has on the office side. And I think what we're really looking to do and prepare for as we move forward is, as we think about the holiday season, all these social distancing measures and occupancy constraints are still going to be enforced, but everybody's going to want to be shopping for their holiday presents. So we're looking at technologies that will help our retailers deal with the need to, only have a certain number of people in the stores, and to help them have people be able to shop what they need, but help them with their delivery and their pickup services. And we're looking at queuing services as well, so that people don't need to just queue outside of a store if there's limits. So there's lots of things that we're doing on the retail side, and on the cleanliness and the air quality. I mean, it's very similar for whatever property type we're looking at, that you want to make sure that you're doing all the right things there. And we've upped all of those policies and procedures and the transparency and visibility into those things. But we're doing more to really help our retailers, increase their sales in a way where you can't physically have as many shoppers in the stores.
Right. I heard one retailer is actually looking at creating a three-dimensional virtual Santa Claus. So he's basically teleported in. That's actually some of the technologies we're going to be talking at our hybrid event coming up. So yeah, it's a brave new world. So let's bring Jim back in. I think watching this thing and watching this transformation accelerate so quickly. One of the things that's been on top of our mind, and all of you have been involved the last 3-5 years, is privacy. As we look to achieve this health and wellness, and we're using sensors, and we're contact tracing people, there is a very thin line between what is good for wellness and what is not good for privacy. Jim, I mean, let's start with you. What do you think? Where does privacy, where does it end up?
Yeah, I mean, I'll do a couple of quick thoughts here, Jim. So one is obviously, in thinking about a lot of the things that we're doing in response to COVID, a lot of the privacy is owned by the employer, right? So you want to, as a landlord, you want to be conscious of that ownership, and so that's one dimension. The other is, as we move into kind of wellness and use of sensors and data, this whole concept of sharing data for mutual benefit is going to be a conversation as an industry that we need to have, because again, as a multi-tenant office owner, I don't just throw sensors into tenants, my customer space, right? So this whole idea, I mean, I think it's going to be a conversation that, obviously Realcomm and others, we're going to have as an industry to talk about, because it's not, I mean, and also the regulations are not stopping. I mean, the whole, there's a whole backlash, which was pre-COVID, but it's also been accelerated just around privacy, biometric data, and others. So.
Yeah, and Annette, how about you? I mean, in both your office, retail, and other asset portfolio, part of your portfolio, how are you starting to deal with this?
Yeah, it's interesting, because I think that the pandemic status has put a lot of the privacy, like the things that we normally expect that we can or cannot do every day, has completely flipped. Like the fact that, we can take temperatures of anybody walking into a building right now in markets, that's something that you would never be able to do outside of a pandemic time, given all of the regulations and laws, but everything has been put on hold to protect the public health and safety now. So I think what's interesting is, there's two forces coming together now. It's people are more understanding of all of the data that's being captured about them. And there's obviously a lot of movement for the push for national regulation in the US to help to monitor that or improve people's protections of their personally identifiable information. But at the same time, we've had all this health data that's being more and more exposed because it's a public health issue. And I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what weighs out and what happens in the future with those two forces, because there definitely is a move to be more transparent. I mean, just what we all see, I mean, how many different COVID dashboards out there. And I just think about the notes that I get from either, our employee teams or like my children's schools, where, that somebody's been exposed to COVID, and we're sharing that level of information where you would never have heard anything about, somebody having a specific illness before. So it'll be really interesting to see. But I think we always want to make sure that we're in compliance with all the local regulations that are out there. And we want to protect, the information that we have about people. And the reason that we're collecting it is to help make sure that things are healthy, but we want to maintain privacy. So that's kind of the point of view and the philosophy that we take. But again, different people have varying levels of expectations on that, and we have to continue to monitor the situation. Yeah,
I mean, we got extreme positions on that topic, and I think privacy being one of the major pillars of democracy, it's going to be a very complex conversation, one that we have to lean into it. We can't run from it. And you spend a lot of time of your life in a building, and the data collection that takes place inside that building is an important component. And the good news is we've been on the conversation for a number of years. Both of you have been involved in it, and we're just going to continue. So All right. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time with two great guests, two great friends, two great people. I want to thank both of you, and we will be in touch shortly. You all be well.
Great. Thank you. Thank you,
Thrive.
Jim. See you, Annette.
Be well.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
All right, so that wraps segment one. And before we get to segment two, I'd like to take a short break for one of our long and trusted sponsors, Home Resident.
Nick Advisory provides a global team of professionals dedicated to helping organizations address their unique challenges, developing the breakthrough ideas that create a clear vision and effective solutions, to help clients drive market change through agile, innovative approaches. Work side by side with advisors whose focus is fixed on building the future you demand for your business, long after the scope of work is complete.
All right, and now I would like to bring on our second segment guest, Charles Meyers from Wells Fargo. Charles is the Senior Vice President in charge of technology architecture, and a longtime technologist and a longtime real estate technologist. So Charles, absolutely great to see you. How are you?
Good to see you too, Jim. Thanks for having me on Realcomm Live.
Yeah, it's fun. And as I set the stage last week, I said, we are going to experience technical difficulties. We experienced one this morning. We're just going to keep rolling with it. And that's the only way you get to figure things out is to swing the bat. So, and with your background, I'm sure you're very familiar with that.
We've been doing it for well over 20 years, so it goes with the program.
The way we wanted to structure this episode today was commercial owner landlords in the beginning, and then the occupier, right? So you heard Jim and Annette say their buildings are ready. They've done every single thing that they can possibly think of, from new cleaning protocols to thermal cameras. Right. And yet corporate America isn't coming back, right? It's not at the rate that they thought. And you as an occupier, are one of their tenants. So what I'd like to do is, just for the audience benefit, why don't you just give a quick overview of Wells Fargo, the size, the statistics of how big of an organization you are. Sure. And then we're going to go a little bit into COVID planning, analog and digital, and then we'll talk about some of the challenges you're going through.
Okay, great, thanks. Well, when COVID started, we were in 7,300 locations in 40 countries. This is 5,000 branches in 37 states, about 80 million square feet. And corporate properties was focused on, at that time, increasing occupancy, right-sizing our space, while also trying to improve the workplace experience. This was part of a workplace transformation that, we've been started over 7 years ago, and we've been happy to have Realcomm, along with us on the journey. We're trying to build attractive, flexible space with enhanced amenities and effective mobility for our employees. We were also involved in smart buildings and looking to leverage building intelligence to lower our operating costs and enhance sustainability. This led us into the area of securing traditional building technologies like the BMS and the HVAC, as well as all our corporate security technologies, cameras, access controls, and alarms. My effort in the space naturally led to my involvement in the Real Estate Cyber Consortium, where we were all working to improve cybersecurity in the building technology supply chain. So that's a kind of a brief update as to where we were at pre-COVID.
So, getting people back into the office, your employees, for you to make a decision to start sending people, back past the 10% threshold, which we seem to be, hearing. What will it take for your organization to feel these buildings are safe, that the workplace is safe, to send people, back in the 20, 30, 40% range?
Well, first I'd like to take a moment and express my heartfelt empathy to all of us who have been impacted by the multiple tragedies of the last 6 months. These remain trying times, and we all hope for a better future. In a relatively short period of time, we had 200,000 people working remote. And we had another 35,000 people that were considered essential from day one. So we didn't have the luxury, I'll say, of kind of abandoning our properties and buttoning them up. And corporate properties was at the forefront of this from the very beginning. It's been like a 6-month business continuity event that has now evolved into a new normal. The pace may have eased somewhat from the spring, but overall we're operating at a much higher level than we were pre-COVID. I think our challenges are similar to others who maintained essential operations. Enhanced cleaning was a massive effort that now has moved into business as usual, but at a much higher frequency. Acquiring products and supplies was a challenge. Our purchasing team had to get creative getting paper products and cleaning supplies and hand sanitizer. We've never had to acquire masks in these large quantities before. Our entire company got behind these efforts. Sewing clubs were formed and started making masks for our essential employees. I included a picture, I don't know if Sherry can bring it up, of one of our partnerships with a liquor distiller that started manufacturing hand sanitizer. I think that picture is the safety kits. I'll talk a little bit about that later. But so we partner with a liquor distiller to provide hand sanitizer, and then distribution became a challenge. We've never had to manage the large quantity of supplies to every location, let alone break down 1.75 liter handle jugs of sanitizer into smaller pump bottles. So this is not something a property team normally does. But
any guess at when you might see 50% occupancy?
That's a good question. I think these are all my personal feedback on this. Right now we are officially delayed until November 1st, but some believe that may be extended as well. I think at one time we were planning for, we'll say, a large event, right? We were all in business continuity. We were at home, working from home, and then we were all going to come back. And I think what we're likely going to see is this evolve into a trickle back that may get a little bit more, a little larger, but not to the level that we were anticipating.
Right. Yeah, I think it's going to be incremental. Even with our hybrid event this year, we have made the decision to, have a physical event. Virtual, majority of the conversations will be held in a virtual event, but we wanted to make some attempt to figure out what did it take to get back, into a physical space. And we know the numbers are going to be nowhere near the 2,500 people that we had last year. But, even if we have, 50, it's better than zero, right? And we're going to learn. And we've already learned, from climbing around air conditioning, vents and doing a tour of the facility, and we wouldn't have learned those things had we not tried, right?
Right.
And I think you're saying the same thing.
Well, to Jim Whalen's point, we were doing the same thing. So while we were in this business continuity effort, with enhanced cleaning, we were also looking at our buildings, and we've installed MERV 13 filters in all our HVAC systems. We've added new technologies to our buildings in this time: temperature stations, occupancy sensors, online health surveys, real-time building status reports, contact tracing, to name a few. And all these technologies, as you mentioned, come with the additional security that we apply to all our technology systems and applications, both building systems security in addition to information security.
Yeah. Well, again, you have been a lifelong supporter of our conference and our community. Your leadership in the Real Estate Cyber Consortium and everything is greatly appreciated, not just by us, but hopefully by the community. You've done a great job, and I want to say thank you for that. So,
well, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, you have a great day, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon.
Let me make a little quick plug for us, just because, we did come up recently on an Ipsos survey with mystery shoppers that identified Wells Fargo as the top financial brand as it relates to health and safety. And as you saw, we've gotten a nice response from our employees with the safety kits on LinkedIn as well. It includes with a special fob, so you can press elevator buttons and open doors without using your hands. So this is, this is the kinds of things I think we're doing right now to help ensure, the safety and health of our employees. And as we come back to the workplace, to your point, these are the kinds of controls we need to have in place to give our team members, our employees, and our customers that level of comfort.
Nothing has changed. You learn by experience. You learn by trying and failing. Nobody is going to hit it out of the park perfectly. It's going to take incremental steps, and I really appreciate you and the work you and Wells Fargo are doing. So,
well, I applaud the work you're doing with the Realcomm live event. While I can't be there in person, I'll definitely be attending virtually. So congrats and thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. And you have a great day.
You too. Take care, Jim.
Bye-bye. All right. On to our final segment, which is our weekly news brief review. Exciting. It's been in place now for about 6 months. Sherry Whitmore, who is in charge of our digital transformation. Sherry, good to see you. How are you?
Hi, Jim. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Good. Well, first of all, thank you for all your hard work. You've taken our advisory and turned it into a brilliant news brief, which takes news from all over the world. Some automated process, some digital, but some, we have to look through those sifting through those articles. But the result is 10 good articles each week that the industry can rely on to keep them up to date what's going on. So we've decided to add this segment into our Realcomm Live, where you're going to take us through the top 3 and give people an idea of what is going on this week in real estate technology and innovation.
Yes. So I'll be sharing my screen. And our top articles this week focus on emerging COVID tech, cyber attacks on utilities, and reimagining customer experiences in retail. The lead story covers COVID tech partnerships in planning a safe Realcomm IBCon hybrid event, which is coming next month. We've developed 5 strategic partnerships with leading companies and equipment designed to safely bring people back into buildings by identifying the presence of COVID, minimizing the spread, preventing infection, and killing the virus. These devices and companies will be featured in October, and some utilized at the event itself. So whether you're planning to join us online or in person, you'll want to see what these machines can do. Next, we take a look at the increasing number of cyber attacks targeting utilities. Power Technology reports that while attacks on energy grids and critical infrastructures is nothing new, the escalation in attacks and the increasing interconnectivity of our systems should be top of mind for all of us. The article highlights 9 key technology trends impacting cybersecurity. And while our industry tends to focus on cybersecurity in buildings, attacks on critical infrastructures have the potential to damage an entire country's power grid, which is a very sombering thought. We'll close out this week's headlines with a look at how advanced and responsive realtors are reimagining experiences in retail operations. Retail has endured relentless disruption that's only accelerating. The CIO.com acknowledges the sunsetting and bankruptcies of major brands, but this article focuses on the innovators who are reimagining digital, physical, and immersive shopping. So who's leading in that novel economy? Well, Sam's Club with their Concierge app for quick and contactless shopping. Gap has a state-of-the-art distribution center that features integrated automation and robotics that's processing 1 million units per day, Jim. And then one of particular interest for you is Ideal Jewelers. Their conversion from a brick and mortar business to an e-commerce model that's built upon live streaming. It's where in-store staff have actually become online broadcasters. And you can read more about all of these disruptive innovators in this week's version of the weekly briefing. That's available on our website, realcomm.com.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for a great job. I know how busy everybody is and how easy it is to do a Google search, but having all this news curated and filtered, if you will, once a week for folks is great, and it kind of keeps them apprised without spending too much time. So thank you so much for that, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks, Jim.
All right. So that's we're getting close to wrapping our second edition of Realcomm Live. But before we do so, I'd like to show you another quick commercial from one of our great sponsors, Corning, and then I'm going to wrap it in our closing remarks. All right. Well, thank you to all of our sponsors who have supported us in so many ways, not just with Realcomm Live, but through all of our events and products over the years. Could not do it without you. So with that, that wraps episode number 2, the focus on reoccupancy, both from the commercial and the corporate side. And we had 3 great organizations who have absolutely and continue to be leaders in the space. And I just want to reiterate, much like I did last week, the importance of doing something. I don't believe we can wait for a magic bullet for this thing to go away. It's It's a very difficult disease to understand, but I do believe we can navigate it. And occupancy isn't going to go from 0 to 100. It's going to go from 0 to 10 to 20 to 30 till someday with a vaccine and the breakdown of the virus itself, we will be back to normal. But normal is not going to be overnight. So I would encourage each and every one listening to take steps, and one of those steps could be participating in our hybrid event. 75% virtual, 25% physical, but the physical part is just to prove we can get back into a building, in this case a hotel, safely, and much of the broadcasting from the physical event will actually be pushed back to the virtual. So we are learning what a hybrid event means, just like every office, retail, mixed use, multifamily is going to have to figure out what is the relationship between tech and real estate. And there's no better way than trying and learning. So next week's guest will be Charles Whitley from ExxonMobil and Clint Osteen from Granite Properties, who are going to bring us up to speed on, again, a nice balance of corporate and commercial. And we're going to learn what the leaders are doing to get people back into buildings. Thank you all, and have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Be well.